And we are underway. Welcome in, everybody. It is Three Guys Before the Game, episode number episode 415. Episode title, Iowa State football recap, basketball tip-off, women's soccer team, Big 12 champs. Not necessarily in that order. Welcome in, everybody. It is Three Guys Before the Game with the Dean, Hoppy Kirchvold, who now has more nicknames than humanly possible to give all in one breath. Unbelievable. Senator is here as well. That would be Senator Howe, representing the great state of infusion. Three Guys brought to us by Comax Business Systems, your full-service Konica Minolta dealer. Go to Comax Business Systems at comaxwv.com. And by the Burdette Camping Center, the only warranty forever RV dealer in all of West Virginia. Visit them at burdettecamping.com. I didn't even look to add you got the stats from Saturday? Did you add the yardage up? It was rushing yards, right?
Rushing yards.
Total rushing yards. You can effort that.
We can pull that up.
Yeah, we'll find out. We'll tell you how much the discount is after the total rushing yards is tabulated. We have operators standing by. And we have this week's promo as well. This is a good one. We'll give you this week's promo, then we'll give you total rushing yards. But this week, Burdette Camping Center is offering you $500. $500 off.
Really?
Yes. You spend $1,000 on parts, sales, or service, and you will get $500 off if the over in Saturday's game is hit at kickoff. Senator, right now, what's the over on West
Sitting
Virginia?
now on DraftKings 65.5.
Okay.
So we'll monitor it throughout the week right up until kickoff.
So whatever the number is.
Closing line, whatever the closing line
Whatever
is.
the closing over-under line is. So let's just for assumptions, say it's 66. If the two teams combine to score over 66 points on Saturday, then you would receive $500 off parts, sales, or service at Burdette Camping when you spend $1,000. That's 50% off if it hits.
Good math on your part.
Thanks, Hop.
That could be a pretty good sweat there for folks to watch that.
That'd be good, yeah.
I like that.
Well, that's what we're trying to do, keep people engaged. What was the total rush yards?
172 for Iowa State plus 76 for West Virginia gives you 248. 248.
So this week, if you walk in, you'll say, hey, I want the Three Guys discount. You'd get $248 off when you spend $1,000 on parts, sales, and service. That comes into a 24.8% discount. That's pretty good.
Very good.
Yeah, take it.
24%,
25% off.
We can call it 25. We can round up. 25% discount. Okay. So that's where we are.
I saw something today that said 10% off. And I thought,
You scoffed at it?
yeah.
Give me
That's not what Phil and the Burdette guys do.
No.
Here's the other thing. If you're depending on this football team to help provide you some discounts, you'll take the 25%. As poorly as they played again, Hoppy, you'll take the 25%. It's a pretty good return.
Got you 25%. Sure.
Good return.
You were looking for positives here.
A couple of pieces of business before we get underway and start to do the football recap. And, of course, textual healing is coming up. Firstly, congratulations to the WVU women's soccer team. They won the Big 12 championship yesterday. And for those of you that are watching, on that shot, an estimated 80-yard free kick by West Virginia senior Jordan Brewster, which took an unbelievable hop over the goaltender keeper for TCU. Again, if you're taking a look, it bounces near the 18 line.
It's perfect.
And it bounces up and over and into the top of the net, and West Virginia hangs on, wins it in OT. That goal, by the way, was in the first of two 10-minute overtime halves, and West Virginia now went into that tournament definitely really bubbled as far as the NCAA tournament goes. Then they beat the 1 seed, Texas. Their RPI jumped up to 37. First they beat Oak State, then they beat Texas, the 1 seed. Then yesterday they beat TCU. By beating TCU, they're in automatic berth to the Big 12. They were still going to be on the bubble had they lost yesterday. And so they get it, and they're in. So that was just awesome. They're on a late season run here.
They are.
The kick was incredible. The bounce was unbelievable. I'm not sure there's anything in watching that multiple times. I'm not sure there's anything that goaltender could have done. Even if she's back, I'm not sure she gets up to the top of that crossbar.
Yeah,
that thing was right in the exact spot it needed to be.
She would have to go all the way to the bar. You assume that she was able to do that if she stood on her line.
Out,
if she stood on,
right?
She stood on,
or get it on a short hop, but she wasn't going to get there. But she's back there a little bit. I mean, she's not on the line.
Yeah.
But look where this thing goes in.
We'll have to talk to Nikki, but that's one of the all-time greats.
That's an all-timer to send your team to a Big 12 title and the NCAA tournament. That's awesome. What a great memory that will be forever.
That's like somebody hits, like it just like crushes a field. You like kicked it and just stood there and watched it.
Yeah. So what's interesting is this is the first year that when it goes to overtime in the championship, that it wasn't a golden goal, which means they played on after that.
Yeah.
But someone forgot to tell the pyrotechnics people, and when that goal was scored, the fireworks went.
Oh, jeez.
They must have thought it was still golden goal. So she scores that, and it was
still had to play on. Right?
Yeah, it was fireworks went off, and everyone celebrated. Went, actually, you still got to keep playing until the 20 minutes are over.
How bummed out? How bad would it have been?
Oh, heartbreaking. Because then you would have went to penalties if they would have scored and made it 1-1, then you would have had to score. But anyway, that's fantastic. Basketball, Mountaineers tip off. We'll get into a little bit of that during textual healing as West Virginia opens up against Mount St. Mary's. They've got Mount St. Mary's tonight. They've got Pitt at Pitt on Friday night. And they're going to play 4 games before they go to Portland for the Phil Knight 85 event, PK 85. They got Moorhead in here next Tuesday and then Penn the following Friday. And you'll get a feel before they go out there and play a bunch of good schools out in Portland. All right, so let's jump in. Mountaineer football, West Virginia falls at Iowa State. What was a close game, 10-7 in the fourth quarter, is blowed up. And they go on to win the game by a score of 31-14. And obviously not the result anyone that's a Mountaineer fan was looking for, and it leads to a bunch of questions. We start off with Hoppy.
Let me start with the elephant in the room, and that is rumors have been circulating and wild speculation for weeks. Tony Gibson's on the sideline, and and Jimbo Fisher was in. I mean, all these things about replacing Neil Brown. This is what I think. Okay, I'm not saying sources told me. This is what I think. Neil Brown's not getting fired today or this week. Okay, I do not believe that is happening. I would bet that is not happening. However, if West Virginia finishes the season uncompetitive in the next few games, then Shane Lyons and Stuart Hall will be forced to evaluate and perhaps make a decision about Neil Brown's future, or perhaps fire Neil Brown if they are uncompetitive in the next several games. I don't believe that if they are uncompetitive like they were Saturday, I don't believe that WVU, Brad, would not take action just because of the buyout. Now, the buyout's crazy, $16 million. But if things continue to be this bad, I don't believe they would not act just because of the buyout, okay? That's I got a pretty firm belief about that. Because what if you're not competitive the rest of the season, so you finish a bad season, even worse, what will fans not want to do next year? They won't want to buy tickets. They won't want to buy season tickets. They won't want to come to games. So now you have that problem. So, A, I don't believe there's anything imminent about Neil Brown losing his job. B, if they play the last 3 games the way they played on Saturday, then WVU may well be forced to do something, is my opinion, and would not be held back by the buyout.
You said a lot there. I won't argue with any of that. I think that's all reasonable and makes sense. It does lead to a ton of questions, and we'll open more questions. I'll say what I've said before. That may be the right decision if they're non-competitive in the next 3. I've got questions for you on what that means. Were you competitive against TCU?
Yes.
So if you give a couple of those efforts, that's enough to keep your job?
It's enough. It mitigates action, okay? It mitigates action, I think. But I think if you have...
What if you're competitive in one and not the other 2?
Yeah, I don't...
I mean, there's a lot of...
absolutely.
That's not directed necessarily at you. There's a lot of gray area in the remaining 3 weeks that you still need to see where it goes. Number 2, if in fact it gets to the point that you make that decision to remove the coach and this staff, you quoted that 16 number, that's just for Neil Brown.
Right.
That's not the rest of the stuff that comes with it. And there's multiple millions more that come with that, plus never mind the next group.
Right.
So you've got to take that into account, which that opens up a whole nother question about how financially irresponsible that is to be giving that much money to a group of people to not come to work.
Agreed.
It might very well be the right decision.
Right.
In this climate, the fact that you're in that position, I think that opens up a whole nother line of questioning and potential criticism there. So that's something to keep an eye on. And then you've got the next elephant in the room is, where do you go next? And you talk about having some pressure for a next hire if one becomes available. You talk about the next coach's agent having a ton of leverage, Hoppy. If you've looked around and you've said, you know what, I thought if I'm another coach and I look around, I probably know Neil Brown's work, and thought, how did Neil Brown not get that thing to work there? What the heck happened up there? What's going on up there that didn't work? That's question number 1. So I have that in my head. Number 2, there'll be plenty of candidates available for this job because there's not many jobs like this. There's not many jobs that pay you $4 million a year. There's not many jobs that'll give you $16 million to go away. There'll be plenty of candidates for this job. Just can you get the right one? But Shane better be ready to pay. Gordon Gee better be ready to pay. Have you looked at the schedule next year?
Yes.
So I'm the next coach in, and I look and say, Neil Brown didn't get that going. Something's not right. All those guys, I assume there's going to be a flood to the transfer portal if you remove that staff. You're in a total rebuild. If I'm that agent, I come in like I'm a kidnapper and say, I've got these demands and I'm going to need an extra year because that thing's in a total rebuild, and you've set me up to start the season with Penn State, followed by another Power 5. I mean, this is point being to this, and there's a lot of time to discuss that aspect. I know a lot of fans want to make this is an easy decision. You fire Neil Brown and suddenly everything's better. This is a potential mess right now that the department is in, that Shane's trying to navigate through, and that football program's trying to bring itself out of. There are not easy decisions here.
Let me build
regardless of what anybody wants to put on Facebook, there are not easy decisions over the next month.
I understand it, and I agree with you. I think these are 2 sides of the same coin. And yeah, you're in a bad situation regardless. You're not looking at great options here, okay? It's not like, well, okay, we just fire the coach, get a new coach. I mean, that's not a great option, okay? That's an option which you may be forced into if things continue to go poorly and you're not competitive. And again, non-competitive can be open to definition. But none of the options are good. None of it. I think that's a key point to remember.
I think that's the number 1 point. I think you have to keep that in mind. There are no good options left. You're trying to navigate through no good options.
Agreed. And
now the flip side is, and now we can get into this game. They cannot continue to play like this.
Agreed.
The frustration is warranted. You can't look like this on the road in particular, because the last 2 home games, there's been some life. You beat Baylor. You were competitive against a TCU team. You probably could have taken that for a win. But I don't know what the problem is on the road. It's existed since Neil Brown arrived, and it's been magnified over the last 3 weeks. 2 where you just simply got big boyed and didn't show up, and a 3rd where you really never felt like, once you got down 2 scores in that game, that you were capable of coming back against a team that was winless in this league. It is not good right now, and it's specifically not good on the road.
What do you think it is? What's your gut?
I don't know. I know we're not on here to say I don't know. If I knew, I'd call over there and give them a fix. The offense, something is wrong with the offense the last 3 halves. Let's start there. Because credit to the defense, the much maligned and heavily criticized defense, which warranted. That's been a tough year for that defensive group. But the last 3 halves, that defense has shown you a little something, right? It made some plays. They held that TCU offense in check, and they took a really struggling Iowa State offense and did enough to keep you in the game. If this was a program that was going to need to have the offense win at games this year, the offense has failed second half against TCU and the entirety of that game in Ames. They absolutely failed.
6 uncompetitive failing quarters consecutively.
offensively.
And defense,
when
again,
the defense is playing well enough in those 6 to get you a win.
Yeah.
You're back to the whack-a-mole thing.
And Tony, you ask, like, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, JT Daniels he's off. I mean, he's missing guys. I don't know. Receivers are dropping passes again. I don't know. 2 of your running backs, I mean.
Injuries matter.
Injuries matter. 2 of your running backs are out.
So here's the thing. Injuries matter. You've had offensive line injuries and your 2 top running backs are out. So you have to mention that. That is a factor. Should it lead to this kind of performance? No, because the next question is, in year 4, how are you in a position here that your depth is still so thin? That's the next question that's raised. But injuries matter. I mean, that's a factor. That's part of why. Yeah. But it can't have this kind of drop-off because we haven't allowed injuries on the defensive side to override the criticism of the defense, right? They've had to figure out a way to put it together. When
you are in the second, and you're in the game, I mean, you're once again, like the start of the third quarter, like how, okay, once again, you're in this game somehow you're in this game because Iowa State's offense is not very good and your defense is playing well. And then you go until the last drive of the game and have, what, Tony? 0 first downs. How can you even, that to me, and that's what falls in the category of not being competitive with the next lowest team in the league, where you don't get a first down until it's meaningless. I'm like, what do you mean you didn't get a first down? Not with a penalty, not with somebody making a play, not with somebody doing something. That was just like, wow, that's bad. That's bad.
Defense, as you said, well enough to be in there to win the game. Iowa State had the ball 17 more minutes.
Yeah. Defense wore out.
They did. Plus, what was it, 25 more plays? They ran 74 to 49 plays, and that's what happens. It's right. It's everything. What do we call that? What's those 3 when all 3 pieces come together? Complementary football. Well, the offense did not do its part. Special teams, you rough the punter, did not do game-winning part. So it's easy to put together. Now the question becomes this. Now what?
Yeah.
What are you going to do? What are you going to
do? Tony, I don't know. I mean, we're sitting there Saturday in our pregame. We got 5 guys. We got Coach Steve Dunlap, who's coached 1 million games. We got guys who've been around forever saying, what happens today? And everybody's going, I don't know. I don't know. You don't know. You have no way of knowing. However, what you do know is, at this point in the season, you do have, and you're going to say, we don't have an identity. Our identity is we don't have an identity. The identity is you don't know what you're going to get. The identity now is the offense is ineffective. The identity is you can't make plays to win the game. So all these identities that you have are all negatives.
Which is why you're sitting at 3 wins. And not only are you not making plays to win, the catastrophic mistakes continue. That's the identity, to be quite honest. That has been there from game 1 against Pitt all the way through Iowa State. There's not only mistakes, which happen. There's going to be mistakes in every game. But West Virginia's come at times when you just simply can't have them. Turnovers, mistakes. You referenced the pump block. I mean, you just cannot do that. You just cannot do that in that position.
I mean, you can't rough the punter, but you see what they were trying to do. I mean, you can't quite get there. They were trying to. You can't do anything offensively. Can you make a play and get a special teams play?
There's 2 things are true. Listen, I know everybody wants to go in absolutes. 2 things in my mind are true on that play. Neal's explanation after the game is totally plausible. Our offense wasn't moving it. We couldn't do anything. We had to make a play. We thought we had a better chance to block a punt and make something happen than try and return it and march down the field. Totally understand the logic. But it can also be true that you can't run into him either.
Right.
You just can't, because now you have no chance. So in my mind, in that situation, both of those things are true. Right. The logic makes sense. It's sound. But you can't make a catastrophic mistake right there.
I understand it. They had 3 blocked this season. You almost got the first one that they punted on Saturday, and I get it. But to your point, you have to execute it properly.
Yeah, because you almost got the first one, but you know what you definitely did do? You ran into the kicker there, too. Now, it wasn't as catastrophic of a penalty.
Because it was 4th and 6 instead of 4th and 5.
You air quotes almost got 2, but guess what actually happened? You got none, and ran into him twice and cost yourself any chance at the game.
And it was
That's
such a
the
pivotal
reality
play.
of it.
It was such a pivotal play because you don't get the block, they get the ball back, and then they go down and score. Now you're in a hole you can't get out of. So it was it was understandable. There was risk. There's risk reward. You took the risk, you didn't get the reward. But I do understand, like you said, Brad, why you tried.
We said going into that game, the team that runs the ball is going to win. We're very clear and very simple with one key right there, right? You had to run the football. West Virginia couldn't run the football, didn't run the football, and then everything snowballed from there offensively.
And yet you ran it decently enough at the start of the game where I thought you're going to be able to do it decently enough.
Agree.
Right?
Agree.
And then it went away.
Agree. But you were really – so here's the thing against them. You have to run to the perimeter. You just can't run up the middle on them. People aren't running up the middle on them. The way to do it, I said this in the pregame, and I don't get into play calling very often. Those guys know a ton more in play calling. But this particular defense, it is what it is, and there's a way to attack it. You run to the perimeter, you kick the end, you block down on the inside guy, and you have somebody pulling with you that can get to the second level, and you run into that open space. West Virginia did it a couple of times, but then it was so left-handed that nothing was working. You go back and look where the carries were, it's all left-handed for obvious reasons, right? Your best lineman's over on the left side. You're trying to run behind Milam over there where you're struggling on the right. Well, that's probably not going to work against a really good defense when simultaneously you're not throwing the passes that you need to throw against that defense either. You keep trying to throw it deep with a quarterback that I don't know if JT's injured or what, but his performance the last two halves has not been JT-esque. Just has not thrown it well. 8 of 22.
Yeah, something's wrong there. There's no question about it. Start of the season, he was throwing ropes.
Yeah.
And now he's throwing off. And you
got
got
it short on the long passes, which aren't there anyway, but leave them
Something's
short
up.
on the long passes. Yeah, you wonder. And, Brad, you addressed this too, where WVU did not address it in the postgame.
Yeah, they didn't. Neil was asked, and he said you've got to talk to JT about that, but JT wasn't made available, so there's no answer. Maybe he'll be made available later this week, and you can ask, and maybe he'll just decline to answer, but he was not made available, and Neil deflected that question, said you have to talk to JT.
But it's an obvious question.
Sure.
Because he's not performing the way he was previously. I mean, what did we talk about a lot in those early season games, even when West Virginia wasn't winning? Like, well, but he's throwing ropes. He's on target. He's an accurate guy. And that's disappeared.
Well, I two things. One, I appreciate you having Brad and I on your morning trading post. And what I said, and I haven't gotten Brad's take on that, but to me, it was the first time this season where both of these things happened with regularity. Dropped passes and poor passes. For the most part, we've dealt with dropped passes intermittently this season, more than we want. The Saturday, it was a combination of inaccurate passing, and then when they were delivered, they were dropped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Yes.
So that, to me, was the takeaway. And then when you only snap it 49 times and those two things are happening, that's why you don't have a first down in the second half until the last drive.
Yeah.
You can't do that. And unfortunately, the zebra isn't going to change its stripes in the next 3 games. When it's happened for this long, it's not going away. That will not correct itself. When you've played 9 and that continues to happen, that's what's going to continue to happen. It's not going to not happen.
We spent,
to use
Tony,
double negative.
In our pregame, we spent 3.5 hours Saturday talking about the game, and we were excited about the game and talking about what might happen, what could happen, what can West Virginia do, what's Iowa State going to do, and what West Virginia needs to do to win. And we build ourselves up with not necessarily expectations of West Virginia somehow changing, but like what they need to do. And then to some degree, it's a fool's errand, because then the game starts and they do what they've done all year. And so you go, well, why do we talk about all these things for 3 hours, 3.5 hours? Because that's what it is. That's what it is. And if it's different, then it's an aberration.
I think you talk about it.
Well, go ahead.
I think you talk about it because at various times this season, it teases you just enough to reach your hand out and try to touch the reality. It's very similar when we put those goggles on you for virtual reality last week. You thought it was real, right? You thought the guy that you were fighting was real, and we get into the mode of thinking, you know what? And then it happens again. You go, oh. They show flashes.
It's also the natural arc of sports and being a fan, because if you didn't have the ability, Hoppy, by the time the next game rolls around, especially in football, to be back with some ray of hope, then it's over.
Yeah, right.
Then it's over, right? As bad as your team is, you find that little ray of hope, you put it together, you see teams coming in like, you looking at Iowa State like they're the 85 Bears? No, that's a winnable game. You looked at TCU. Yeah, as good as TCU, that's a winnable game. You're going to do the same thing for Oklahoma.
I know.
Right?
I know.
There's an opportunity to get your first win over Oklahoma as a member of the Big 12. There's going to be chances. There's holes in that Oklahoma team that you can take advantage of, and we're going to build a case. By Thursday, I'll come back in here and be all giddy. I'll build the case.
Yes.
Right? I'll build the case for you.
Yeah, right.
And then by Thursday, by Saturday at 3 o'clock, I might be throwing things again because they didn't run it, they didn't throw it, they dropped balls. It might be the whole thing. But by Thursday, you build yourself up to, okay, maybe you got a shot.
Do you ever play?
And that's what, to me, that's as frustrated as you get with your team, and I understand it. If you lose that, that's a problem.
That is.
That's a problem.
Because then you're of the mindset like, well, there's no chance. Why are we even talking about it?
Yeah, who cares? Not even going to turn on. Don't care. That's what you got to avoid.
You ever, when you're, none of us, I think, are golfers. Maybe Brad, you were at one time, and I used to play some. But you go out, and you play like 9 holes, and you're all over the place. And then you hit like a nice shot, an iron shot, and it goes up, lands on the green, it rolls near the hole, and you go, oh, okay.
It's always what brings you back.
Yeah, that's it. And you go, you fail to recognize that's the aberration.
Correct.
That's not the rule.
I'm already doing it here. We've seen this team do nothing but mistakes, but now I'm already going, I'll tell you what, you beat Baylor at home, played pretty well against TCU, you're back home here. Like I've already started the arc. My arcs, I've already bottomed out Saturday after the game, and I've started the climb back up to you got a chance on Saturday.
Yeah. Well, what's the early line? Maybe. Well, you
Number's
do.
9. Is it 9?
Moving towards West Virginia.
Is it 9?
9. It's 8 now.
9?
It's 8 now.
Went down a point, huh?
Money coming in.
Money coming in on West Virginia. See.
Other news. I just learned before we started recording that for TV for next week, which would be Kansas State's visit to Morgantown, they have exercised the 6-day window, the proverbial 6-day window. There's a certain number of times that they get to put the window in. It always seems like they use it 28 times. It seems like everything becomes a 6. So for our fans, if you're coming in for Kansas State, you won't know until late Saturday night, early Sunday morning what time WVU and Kansas State will be.
Kansas State coming off a loss.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah.
Texas, huh? Huh?
And we said that.
They back?
Yeah. Texas was favored.
They back?
No, but they got guys.
Texas back?
Nope.
Not giving it to me?
Nope.
So what are we going to have? Is it going to be TCU, Texas, in the championship?
Still got a couple weeks left. Stay tuned.
What do you think?
TCU keeps finding ways to win.
I know.
Oh, my gosh.
They got another backup quarterback.
Yes.
Baron Morton goes out against Texas Tech. They got another backup quarterback. It's unbelievable.
They might back up They might back up quarterback right to the national championship. Just
well,
keep backup quarterbacks every game.
Sometimes that happens, and you get on those rolls. If memory serves me correct, now I'm not putting this as it's a biblical truth, but I'm almost positive. If you go back and look at West Virginia's undefeated 88 season, every quarterback, I think, except one that started against West Virginia that year, did not finish the game.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
You can take a look, and it's pretty easy to do. We can just go into the stats and take a look at each game. Now, that was a combination of they were either injured or West Virginia got up by so many, they pulled the quarterback, and you got a backup. So, but sometimes you get into a season like that where that thing just goes well.
Well, that happens a lot. I mean, there's no question if you're having those, quote, magical seasons like that, you need some luck. And maybe that's TCU. Yeah. They might ride the thing for at least to the Big 12 title. They're getting it so far. They've had a ton of fortunate breaks.
Okay.
What was that basketball game West Virginia was playing back in Beeline's era, and Beeline was playing first name? Beeline.
John?
John. No, John's son.
Patrick.
Patrick.
Yeah.
Senior moment. and Patrick's playing, and he's hot, and Brad, you're a basketball player, you can relate, and he's like 30 feet away. And
Well,
just,
against Louisville in the Elite Eight game, he did that.
is that what it was?
Front of
Yeah,
their
stuck it
bench.
from the leg and then hit one in front of their bench where he gave you the
Gave you the-
airplane
gave you
move
the
right
air-
in front of Patino.
He did.
Awesome.
He did give him the pair.
I thought there was
Except we
another
ended
one,
up
too,
losing
where he
the game.
made one and just like went.
Yeah, I mean, there were those moments. Sometimes it rolls. Okay, speaking of basketball, we're going to get to textual healing in a second. Senator, before basketball commences and the season has officially begun, Baylor just said,
Baylor
you know what?
rolling a little bit today.
We're going to have our own. We're going to have our own season tip off. So Baylor just goes, Monday. We're just going to play at noon. So they tipped off at noon.
Noon East on Monday.
Yeah, and as we record, first half's almost over, and they're almost to 60 points. They got 59 on the board, and they're beating poor Mississippi Valley. Well, it is halftime. It's 61-21. They're up 40 at the break.
Leading scorer for the Bears at the half. It would be one by the name of Jalen Bridges.
He's second leading.
Bridges, that sounds
Flagler's
familiar.
got 12. Flagler scored the
Bridges
last
had 11.
basket.
Okay, he got the last
Flagler
bucket.
scored the last basket. Jalen Bridges in his Baylor debut has 11 on 3 of 6 with a three-pointer, 4 of 4 at the line and a couple of boards in 14 minutes. So off they go. They're preseason. They're right up there. A couple of things to bring back to the table. Last week, we talked about Gonzaga and the Big 12 having a conversation, potentially becoming a basketball-only member. You can file that one in the deep recesses of not going to happen.
Okay.
Learned over the weekend, simply a conversation. They've had conversations with others. It was solicited by Gonzaga. So it's not like the Big 12's out there going like, hey, let's bring in a basketball-only member. So there's no smoke into that one.
All right.
So what'd you give me that look for?
No, nothing.
What do you mean?
Move on. Next topic.
What are you holding back?
What do you got?
I'm not. Move on.
Are you holding anything back?
No, I
What?
voiced my opinion on that last week.
You said it was nothing last week. Is that what you were saying?
And that it was, I didn't like it.
Yeah.
Didn't make sense.
I know what you do like. You like this song. You like this song. Have I ever said, I like this song, the more I hear it? Ranks up there with the Hoppy, Hoppy, Hoppy song.
Both good songs. What would be the A side? Thinking about old records. Used to be the A side, the B side.
good old
This
school
would be.
reference.
That is good, Hoppy. The B side is your song.
That's the B side.
That's the B side. That's a hell
Like
of a
Penny
single.
Lane's on the A side and Strawberry Fields on the B
Yes.
side.
It's a pretty
Yes.
big record right
there-
there. If you get both those.
And there's a lot of people out there that are younger that have absolutely
Yeah, what are you
zero
talking
idea
about?
what the heck what that means. A side, B side. What's that? What does that mean?
Well, they might now since vinyl's coming back. Maybe they have some idea. Although they don't get 45s, they get albums.
Right. Okay, so super quick, if you are young, just to cut to it in about 15 seconds. Back in the day when a song was released, they would release just the single of it, and so just one song on one record, but there would be two sides of the record that you could flip. So there would be A side, which was the primary song,
Right.
and then the B side normally was just a
dog
of a song. It was like, here, slap that on there. They're not going to buy it for that one. And so very rarely were there two good songs on a 45. But as Hoppy said, Beatles, because they had
Penny
so many
Lane,
good,
Strawberry Fields. That was
like
exception.
really good. So on ours, on the Three Guys 45, we have textual healing, and our B side is the Hoppy, Hoppy, Hoppy
So
song.
both are, I mean, two good songs.
Really
A-side
good,
and
like
B-side.
platinum songs. Yeah. Okay. So let me give an advanced explanation on textual healing for today. We don't ever read all of the texts that come in because there are too many, which probably is a good problem. This week, from our last show Thursday until this morning, there were 176 texts. And again, it's impossible. Well, it's not physically impossible, but we're not going to read 176 texts because I have somewhere to go tonight. I got to be at the Coliseum at 7, so I'm not going to do 176. So with that being said, two things here. Firstly, the majority of the texts were of the theme that we've already discussed, and that would be a change of the head coach. And Hoppy and Brad addressed that. The other big theme is criticism of Shane Lyons, and I think that has also been addressed. The others center on the play of the offense and the play of quarterbacks. So among 176 texts, for the most part, that's a general theme. And we can dabble around and get more of those, but I think you've got the general consensus. That's in essence what it is. Okay? Is that a
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a fair to the Faber College codicil to the Faber College.
Little known codicil in the Faber Constitution.
Yes. So we'll bounce around and we'll do some of these. First up, we've got an image. All this has said was, wow, 3 guys on YouTube on my 65-inch television. Thank you, guys. Taylor, could you put up? Yeah, there it is, Hoppy. And that's you on a 65-inch television.
Scary.
Our pod is available on YouTube. You could subscribe. We have over almost 700, 600 plus subscribers on YouTube now.
You know what I need?
Look at you, Hoppy. You're a very, very disconcerting face on that 65-inch television.
I need what a lot of people ask for in their contract is I need that filter that softens
the
you
Oprah
up.
filter. They call it the Oprah filter.
Is that it? Softens you up.
Mm-hmm.
Like Carrie Lake, that Republican running for governor in Arizona.
Okay.
She has one of those, I think, all the time.
Really?
Softens you up.
All the time.
I think it is all the time. I need one of those.
Well, investigate that. I think all 3 of us up here could use that. It's not exclusive to
I
you.
definitely could.
When that HD came out, that tells the truth.
Yeah, a lot of people use that. Does TV News use that?
No, I don't think so. I don't know.
You know what I'm talking?
Yeah, it smooths things out. it's like a permanent airbrush. Helps
Can you get
things
one
out.
of Ed's hair?
Speaking of looks, I don't know. I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm going to.
Yeah, you probably should.
I got stuck on YouTube last night
There's a shocker.
with Dr. Pimple Popper.
Oh gosh.
And I don't know, like normally I don't. Well, I guess I shouldn't say I normally don't. But it was the most amazing thing. You know that elephant, the elephant man and whatever that person had, those growths?
Yeah.
Dude, there was this dude on there.
Man, move on.
Like the size of 2 coconuts. It was an amazing surgery. I mean, amazing surgery what they're able to do. Anyway, just the
So no
YouTube.
Somalian pirates?
No Somalian pirates yesterday. I just went straight to Dr. Pimple Popper.
Is it?
Yeah. Heavy into that.
Kenneth in Morgantown writes in and says that West Virginia should make a move in its coaching staff in football because enrollments are down 7% since Neil Brown took over as the football coach in 2019. That's millions of dollars in revenue lost. The last time WU saw a year-to-year enrollment increase, 2018. What happened in 18? We had a football team ranked as high as 7th in the country during the season and a Heisman Trophy contending quarterback.
There may be a correlation there. I think it's questionable to say that's causation because enrollment at WV, enrollment at almost not all, but many major institutions and smaller ones too, down because of COVID.
I looked it up. Actually because I thought, well, wait a second, you got to throw COVID in here. So West Virginia's, and I don't know if it's true, but he says it's down 7%, but nationally, it's down 7%.
Yeah,
across the country, and I understand your point. There's no question that successful teams, and West Virginia has seen it to a degree, increases your applications, increases your enrollment. I get that point, but I just think higher education as a whole, forget about sports as a whole, is in a massive paradigm shift because COVID accelerated online learning and it accelerated perhaps the value of whether or not higher education is necessary or priced properly. The skyrocketing cost of higher education combined with COVID has people going, you know what? No.
Tony, those are all excellent points. And also that at WVU and other institutions, retention is down. Okay, students coming back for another year because after being at high school, not being in school for a year and a half, they were not prepared for college. So they go to college, go, what's this all about? And they don't come back. So that's had an effect as well.
Yeah, that's a whole nother. We could have that education conference. Maybe if you invite us in on your talk fest thing there.
Well, we record on Thursdays.
A lot of people continue to write in on this conference television deal thing. I mean, amazing, which there were so many of those, and I'm not going to use all of those, and some people took a lot of time to write some pretty impassioned pieces about it. But after about bunch of them, I said to myself, this is exactly what we were saying. A lot of people, like, they're tuned. I'm not saying it's good or bad. Just people are like passionate about it. This shows that they really are. They follow that. It's a big deal because so many people continue to write about it. Good or bad, I'm just saying that's what it is. But I am going to read a couple or a selection of a couple. Chiming in on the TV deal money and the winning conversation started by El Senatore. In my opinion, the money does not guarantee success, a la Texas A&M. Rather, the money is a barrier to entry for success at the highest level, a prerequisite, if you will. It would be interesting to tabulate the last 5 to 10 football national champions and their athletic department's budget and ranking among all schools that year. I also think comparing basketball champion schools to football champion schools is an apples to oranges argument. The bar is set much lower for hoop dollars compared to football dollars required for success simply by the number of bodies. It's the same reason so many more, nearly 3 times as many schools can compete at the D1 level in basketball as opposed to football.
Last time I'll say this. I literally led with,
yes,
it's a prerequisite to be at the big boy table. I led with that. So we don't need any more that use that as the defining point in the argument. Yes, you have to have it to have a seat at the table. But then if you go further, and I won't dwell on this, then you have no chance. This is kind of my point. You have no chance if it's based on dollar. You're not in the ballpark of the SEC and the Big Ten. So if you want to go back and look at the 5 champions, just go look at the SEC. So I also will say, why are you interested in the money when you have no chance to win a national title then? You're not in the ballpark now. And it still matters in basketball. Mississippi Valley State can't win a basketball national title, can it?
No.
No. Technically it can.
Right.
It's eligible to. But it won't. It can't keep up with the money the Big 12 is spending in those particular ones. So
Can I
won't address this
ask you
anymore,
a money question?
Yeah.
Can WVU realistically expect to fully fund a football and basketball program to be nationally competitive? Both.
Yes.
Continuously.
Yeah, nationally competitive? Yes. National champion? I think that's where you have some debate. Whether any of these leagues outside the SEC, it's a different deal, man. Did you watch those SEC games Saturday?
Yes.
We had Tennessee, Georgia on.
Yep.
We had LSU, Alabama at night.
Yep.
I mean, that's a different deal. And I guess that's what I'm saying is you've got to look at that stuff. And if you're now falling $50 million a year behind what they're paying, okay, are you still at the big boy table? That's why I've for 3 years continued to say the automatic berth to an expanded playoff is critical.
Yes.
It's critical because at the very least, if you can't get all the way to a national championship, if you're not spending $100 million per year like the SEC schools, at least you can stay in it and you talk about a seat at the table, then you have a seat at the table. To me, that's what matters. This new TV deal isn't going to put you anywhere in the ballpark of the Big Ten and the SEC. Keeps you kind of flat from where you were, which is good, better than going backwards. But it doesn't give you a seat at the ultimate table. But entry into the playoff, at least you have that, and that's around for a while. That gives you something to root for.
All right, last one on media rights. I'm giving it 2 because so many people wrote to it. Scope Spreads Hop Cube, Scott Fredericksburg. Longtime listener, I originally subscribed for the WVU Sports Insights, but now find myself tuning in for the inane humor that ensues when you easily go speeding off on multiple tangents.
That's us.
I'm texting to give some additional perspective to the topic of conference media payouts. I myself like the higher payouts because that is what gives your conference an upper hand in the expansion game. If your conference pays out more, then it's much easier to poach schools. Just ask Texas, Oklahoma, USC, and UCLA. Conversely, it keeps your conference schools from wanting to jump to other conferences not named SEC and Big Ten. My hope, Big 12 and SEC expand simultaneously. SEC takes Florida State and Clemson, so the Big 12 can grab Virginia Tech, Pittsburgh, and whomever else they want to give West Virginia regional rivalries again. Why would those schools from the ACC not want to jump for more money? And with the SEC poaching, the same can be said, ACC media rights. So anyway, get to the point. Got it. Thank you. Question about quarterback performance. You guys are ignoring the stats on quarterback performance. I think we addressed that it has not happened. The numbers are down perception or percentage-wise in completion. Big Guy in Mullins. Hello, Scopes, Spreads, and RBF. How many nicknames have each of you been given since the show's inception? I've lost count. I like to keep it with Scopes, Spreads, and Hoppy to the third power. P.S. You said P1 Jason in Dallas was a great meetup. Did you have a way out if you want? If he wasn't?
Great question.
It seems sad that most texts anymore aren't about sports. Great shows as always. Oh, so he's basically saying, like, if P1 Jason in Dallas was a dud when I had breakfast with him, would I have come back on and said, like, oh, yeah, he was a great guy? I probably, if he was a total jackwagon, I probably would have come back and said, well, that was the last time I would have breakfast with him.
No, the question is...
I think he meant, could you get out of the actual breakfast?
Did you have somebody scheduled to call you 10 minutes in?
Did you have an eject button if you needed it?
Like, yeah.
No.
Okay, I got it.
No,
I got a problem with the Comax unit. I got to run.
What's that? What do you say? The hotel's on fire? Yeah, I'll be right over. No, I didn't have any of that.
It's good to have, though.
Yeah. Texters. Ciao, amici. Visiting my aunt and uncle in Canaan this weekend, I had to stop into Stumptown Ales. We enjoyed the holy Citra, the big boy pants, and, of course, the multiple hopgasms. I can't wait to try Hoppy's new beer, but these will do in the meantime. Let's go Mountaineers. I hope they give Neil at least another year. Great guy bringing in quality kids. Can you show that picture of hopgasms, Taylor? Hoppy, that is, see the last thing on that Stumptown Ales beer list? Multiple hop, triple IPA. It's called a triple
IPA.
That'd be.
What's the alcohol content on that?
Probably lots. Probably lots of alcohol.
Can't see the percent. They should show the percent because.
I'm sure next show someone will text it in there.
Get a little foggy. Where is Stumptown Ales? Where is that?
It's like Davis, isn't it? I think it's in Davis. Davis.
Yeah,
I think so.
What's it say on the bottom? Oh, subject to change of Brewers.
Brewers whim. I like
that too. Like the brewer goes, I'm not doing it.
You got a computer in front of you. Look up Stumptown Ales, multiple hopgasms, alcohol content. Okay. Texter, hey, three guys. Warning. In-game text. Listening to the broadcast while I'm mowing. I think mowing's pretty much done, don't you think? Like this, I think last weekend might have been final mowing.
Oh, you're into leaf removal now.
I mean, you're just chopping leaves up now. I think it's pretty much done. Tony, you hit the nail on the head. You said you make your own bounces. We definitely didn't make our own bounces. We only made bonehead mistakes at untimely moments. Emoji with hand on face. So disappointing.
Multiple hopgasms is 8.5%, so that's
not crazy.
A little kick to it.
Yeah, I mean, you have two of those.
Yeah, that's about all you need. I mean, is it to the point where they serve it in the smaller glass because, like, you don't want too much of this? Sean in Athens, he went very formal. Tony, Brad, and Hoppy.
Like not like I really want Coach Brown to be the guy that we needed. He has done so much to improve the culture. When I met him, he couldn't have been nicer. However, after 4 years, there's no way this team shouldn't look better than this. I'm never a fire the coach person, but I don't know what the answer is for this program without change.
I think that's the belief of a lot of people, and certainly anybody who has met Neil Brown. You know, I've had some, I don't know him, but I mean, he's been on my show a couple of times, met him once. And I think we've said many, many times, he's doing all these other things. He's a wonderful representative for the university, stand-up guy. All the things you would want, Brad, what do you have to do?
Win.
This, and we've said this multiple times, because the money involved in college sports has increased at such an unbelievable rate so quickly, the only thing that matters nowadays is wins. That didn't used to be the case. Again, I always go back to Don Nealon made $250,000 in his last year, which was his 21st year as the head coach. It was $250,000, right? And now salaries on average at Power 5 levels are in that $4 million range. So as a result of that Xing out so high, all of the focus becomes now on winning, more so than ever before because of the dollars. And that has caused this whole new world of trickle-down economics, so to speak. Mm-hmm. More money for the coach has trickled down to more money for the assistants, has now trickled down to money for the players. And so the entire dynamic has changed from what it was. And as a result of that, the way that the game is played, both on and off the field, has changed. And we're in a stage where, I mean, not just at West Virginia, but I talked to someone in another conference yesterday, and I said, hey, it looks to me like it's this, this, and this in regard to how you coach kids nowadays has changed. And he said, that's exactly what we're dealing with.
And, you know, here's the other thing, and maybe we've talked about this, is that if you would clean house, and let's say, you know, the fact that they're still playing hard tells you that the players like Neil Brown and like the assistants, if you would clean house, you're going to get a house cleaned. You're going to get picked clean by other schools.
Correct. I mean, that's one of the differences than in past years. I mean, you always have turnover when there's a new coach, but you have the potential for massive turnover, which that's what I was saying to you. That's why if I'm the next guy in, I'm absolutely asking for additional money. I'm asking for an additional year on the end of the contract because it's going to be a rebuild. This isn't where you can anymore. That's one of the things that the portal has done. This is not a situation where you can change a staff and step in with a ready-made roster to win. It's just, I just don't see that being the case anymore. You're going to be entering a rebuild. So if Shane and Gordon Gee decide this is the decision to remove this entire staff, I think you need to prepare for a mass exodus there, and you need to be prepared for a couple years of a rebuild before you get back flush. You got to factor that in.
Understand your point, but I think this world that we're in, you could have a massive exodus from any program and any team at any time. That's just the reality of it is. I'm just saying that's the reality of it, i.e., an assistant coach can leave a school and he could take 4 or 5 guys with him, more so than ever before because you don't have to sit out anymore. So the only thing you know is the unknown.
Well, that's true. That's
but
true.
You hasten the departures when you remove all those relationships.
Yes,
you're not wrong, but you certainly speed that process up. And my point to saying that just is people that think a quick fix is automatic probably are going to need to back down. You're going to have to alter expectations, or the next coach is going to be in this same spot where they don't win right away and everybody starts screaming, oh, you made the wrong hire, get rid of that person.
If you clean house, you know.
And I'm not saying you shouldn't, because we're going to get a bunch of texts on that saying we're defending and carrying water and all that. I'm not saying that. I'm simply pointing out this is not as black and white a decision as people make it. It may be time to move on. You may get to the end of the year, do your evaluation, say it's time to move on. It doesn't automatically mean it's fixed when that moment occurs.
Agreed.
It might get fixed down the road. It might, but it doesn't automatically, a change does not automatically make it
I would think
different.
you start by actually going backward more
I don't know how you wouldn't.
and then trying to build from there.
Yeah, it would surprise me that you wouldn't.
If you clean house, C.J. Donaldson's phone is ringing off the hook.
There's no question it is.
Saying NIL money, and also, I heard they're going to hire a coach who's going to run the option.
But it also doesn't mean some of those guys won't stay. It also doesn't mean somebody new coming in won't bring an influx with them, too. I mean, there is another side to that discussion, but I just think everybody better be prepared. When there's a change, there may be a step back. Now, the example against that is TCU, right? TCU made a change, brought in a new coach, and they've had instant early success.
That's a great point.
So at least 2/3 of the way through year one, if you want some hope in that situation, you would say, well, TCU's turned it.
Well, Max Duggan was just happy that previous coach isn't yelling at him.
Three Guys Before the Game is brought to us by Comax Business Systems, your full-service Konica Minolta dealer. Comax Business Systems will never yell at you. You can visit them on their website at comaxwv.com. Comax, Komaxwv.com. What do they do? What's that Comax do?
What do they do,
I'll tell you what
Tony?
they do. Thanks for asking. They will come in and they'll manage your IT services. If you're a business owner and you feel that you're not exactly properly confident and in good shape when it comes to your data, or some call it data, your data, they'll manage your IT, they'll manage your voice and your phone services, and they do it 24/7. They'll remote monitor in and give you the peace of mind that everything is cool. For 10 times, they've been named an elite dealer by ENX magazine, which is a super exclusive award, think Heisman, that no other dealer in West Virginia has ever received. Visit them at comaxwv.com if you've got questions or concerns about your business gear or your IT. Greg in Athens, I wanted to address two things discussed in the preview of Iowa State: fan interest, team revenue, future NIL. Not all rich programs win in the short term, but few, if any, programs win in the poor teams win in the long term. Aside from serving as a barometer for success and stability, if a program is to have the agility to react to changing trends, it's how attractive players and coaches. A large war chest will always be needed, and those with deep coffers will always have an advantage. By the way, this was a really long text, so I edited it. If the schools get involved directly and no parity measures are introduced in NIL, it's just painting lipstick on a pig and calling it prosciutto. Nothing functionally changes as NIL funds just pass through to schools via donations, ensuring the rich get richer, and even the NIL via third-party sponsorship will still be a factor in a majority of states. I hate it, but we're stuck with NIL for the long haul. West Virginia needs to get its own law on the books as soon as possible. Something you'd have to deal with, Hoppy, on your show. Love the show. Love what you three invest into our beloved school and state. Cheers from all Mountaineers. Greg in Athens.
Maybe that could be Amendment 5.
Yeah. Texter, efforting. I just want this team to beat Oklahoma. That's all. That's it. Shortest text of the week. 2, can someone explain why our number 1 and number 2 receivers can't bother to run block on several 3rd and 1s? Multiple times that assignment made the tackle to prevent the conversion. Texter, some people call you WVU apologists. I call you realists. This year we lost our 2 best running backs. I think me and Hoppy were playing the DB position. I don't think it would be fair to fire Neal, to give him another year to right the ship. What say you? We've addressed that. Texter, Ted from Colorado. All 3 of you have advocated for trusting the climb for a number of reasons. Is that still your position?
If I had a vote today, I would say retain for another year.
Texter, how do we compete so well at home, and then as soon as we get away from Morgantown, we look like an FCS team? That's my biggest complaint. We stink away from home.
By the way, props to the Iowa State crowd.
What do you mean by
They
that?
lost 5 in a row. They
Dude,
came out.
They're different, man.
They have great fans.
They're different.
I'm not dissing the West Virginia fans. Don't get all upset. But I mean, the fact that they came out.
They're different dudes. Well, a couple things. One, your state, by the way, your state presented a very, very large paradox of weather on Saturday. Oh, my gosh, dude.
You could have stopped that sentence after weather. You didn't need to say Saturday, even though that's when you experienced it.
It was really like when we walked out of the motel, rain sideways and wind and cold, and we're like, oh, are you kidding me? And then the field was tarped and it was pouring on the field. And I was like, but the forecast said, rain's going to stop at noon.
And it did.
And the sun's going to come out. Boom.
Beautiful day.
Credit
you don't
to
have to tell me.
Yeah,
I have played baseball in every possible weather condition.
In the same game.
Sunny and beautiful, tornado warnings, sleet, rain, snow that accumulates.
Yeah.
Right, when you were making the throw from short to first, you have to account for the wind.
Sometimes.
That I talked to John Walters.
Did you see the wind at Northwestern and
Ohio State?
I heard it was bad.
Sorry.
What do you do when there's heavy wind, Hop? What do you do?
Take the under. Always. What do you do if it's two service academies are playing?
Under.
So I talked to John Walters, their play-by-play guy. The agronomy school grew that turf about 2-3 miles away from campus.
Oh, really?
They take great pride in their school and that turf. You know how hard it is to keep natural grass, especially up there? Dude, when that tarp was out there, they had 14 golf carts holding it down on the sides.
Oh, really?
All the way. There was a ring of 14 golf carts, and I counted how many dudes went out there to roll the tarp. There were 14 people. It's just a huge, huge investment. But that field
was perfect, huh? It was nice.
And he was telling me they brought in this device, this machine from Europe that they use on the soccer fields there, and it does something. It goes like unbelievably slow, and it takes like 2 weeks, and it goes over the field, and it does something with the roots, and it spins the roots inside to make the grass, because their grass practice fields were struggling. So they used it there. Then they brought it over this field. But at the start of that game, I mean, it was like a carpet.
Yeah.
It was gorgeous compared to what it was. So it's hard, but props to those folks.
Falling behind in all grass surfaces here in the Big 12. They're leading the Big 12 in grass surfaces.
No question. They got the best grass. Better than, yeah. 3 guys excited for basketball season to begin. Hug seems to be more positive on this year's team, but with such a new roster, what are realistic expectations? For each of you, over under league wins 7.5. NCAA tournament, yes or no?
Great questions.
As always, love the show.
Who would have any idea? I refuse to answer that until mid-January.
Senator?
Would like to answer that. Don't know.
Well, just for the heck of it.
Don't know.
Okay. As the play-by-play announcer, I think they win all 18 league games and are a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament.
Oh, okay.
That's how I handle that. Texter, I know you guys question the basketball team, but I believe they will shock the nation. Give Bob Huggins guys who want to play for him and will play defense, and I will put my money on him. We may not have the best starting 5, but our 10 is better than theirs. An unnamed texter. Texter, hi guys, Randy State College, PA. Hello. Regarding NIL money and how's that working out for Texas A&M, I'm wondering about the psyche of 18 to 20-year-old young men who all of a sudden find themselves with a decent place to live, a top-notch training table, fans who adore you, and now $5,000 to $10,000 a month of NIL in your pocket. For many of them, I'm sure that's a significant change from where they were as high schoolers. As freshmen, sophomore, or juniors in college, I don't think I'd have done well. With that kind of cash, I probably would not have spent all my time at Sunnyside drinking 25-cent beers.
Good Sunnyside reference.
How many of these young men are feeling that they've made it and don't feel the need to work so hard, specifically when the road gets rough? I'm also wondering about their teammates that don't have it as sweet or any NIL deal and are watching their teammates living large when the season is going down the turlet. This may sound like I'm blaming the student athlete, but I'm not. We all need to grow up sometime. Clearly, these guys are physically mature, but I'm willing to bet most are not emotionally mature. I think the NIL money just made it a lot harder for these young men. I realize NIL money is here to stay, and we have to live with it, but what do you guys think? I love the show. Randy in State College.
I think that's a real provocative thought there, and you don't know yet. I mean, at some point after 3 or 4 or 5 years, maybe a picture will become clearer about that. But I think he raises interesting questions about the psychological effect of NIL.
There was also a psychological price to be paid for the emotional and physical toll they went through with no financial benefits either.
True.
There's also guys that are benefiting now in college that will never have a chance to go on and play. This might be the only chance they have to make some real significant money. There's also a chance now from a coaching perspective, people that have become multi-millionaires, it's now players taking some of that. I mean, some of that emotional worry about emotionally mature young men and women, I think, went away when you started doing what you've done to college athletics and putting it in fourth and making it billion-dollar businesses. Some of that went through. So I don't know that you can just artificially hold down earnings coming from everybody that's involved in that process.
No, I don't think they're saying that. I just think they're saying, is there an effect, or will there be an effect, which I think is a reasonable question to ask.
I agree with you, and I find it to be a fascinating topic. Fascinating topic. The whole thing has changed. I think the way that you have to motivate players has changed. You can't coach kids the way that you used to just for the fear that they might hit the road. And that's just the reality of it.
Is
I'm
that
not
all
saying
bad?
good. No.
Yeah, that's
no,
not all
I was
bad.
just going to say, I'm not saying good or bad. I'm just saying it has absolutely changed. And I do think it's going to take a process. It'll take a period of time for the new way the thing works to come out. And you'll get a better handle on how it's going to work. But right now, I think we're in this huge transition period.
Do you think there's been coaches that haven't worked as hard once their financial status was established and they knew they were making $2, $3, $5, $7 million a year?
Certainly possible. Absolutely.
You think there's some other coaches that changed their mindset and the way they did, knowing there were giant buyouts sitting on the back end of that?
Hey, man, it's like life, man. If you don't have a carrot.
Hoppy, my point to that, though, is nobody changed the parameters factoring those things in. So why are we suddenly worried about that?
I'm not disagreeing with your point. I think we're arguing about two different things. I'm saying that I thought the texter had a good point, is that, presumably someone who's 40 years old is more mature than someone who's 20. I'm not saying the 20-year-old shouldn't make the money. I'm saying that I'm saying that I don't think you can inject these kinds of changes, and including the money, and not have some effect on performance. And I think that is to be measured. Can't do it yet, but I think after a couple of years, it's to be measured.
I agree with you.
Okay.
I agree.
I mean, why don't we have these discussions about the 18-year-olds in the NBA or in minor league baseball, going through those systems?
I'm just saying that here's something from my heart. I know something from my heart. And I'm not talking strictly West Virginia here. I'm just talking college athletics as a whole. When I see every school doing these social media posts and the kids getting on the plane, or the kids walking through smoke, or doing like this and all this stuff, and the question that comes back to me all the time is, make a frickin' play. I just think like they've become like these characters. And to me, I'm just going like, what have you done? Do something. Then like bang on your chest and show like how super cool you are. And you want to play like, like you're like this pro athlete. Well, like do something. And I'm just not saying West Virginia. I'm just saying like, I see all these guys, like all these hype videos now, that all the stuff says hype. Do frickin' something. Right? Do something.
I hear you.
Go make a frickin' play. Go get your Brian King moment. Go get your Grant Wiley moment. Go get your Pat White moment. Go get your Steve Slayton. Go do something, and then I'll go like, you're a dude. But like when you like pretend like, I'm this, I'm that, get out of here. Senator disagrees, but anyway.
Well, I do, because the criticism always comes from people that are already making money about whenever athletes should be paid. It always comes from people that have a lot of the money. So I naturally bristle at that, because I think there's the way college sports has gone with the finances. It's just my argument's simple. Are there things that come with it? Yeah, but there's also been a lot of things attached to coaches making what they make, and I haven't heard a lot of complaining about that over the last 20 years. But suddenly when these players are in line to make some money, now everybody gets all in an uproar about it.
I think there's been complaints about coaches' salaries for a long time. I think
coaches are getting
raised.
Coaches are getting
continue
whacked
to go up and up and up and up.
Well, yeah.
So you think there's as much complaining about coaches' salaries as there is players getting money?
Coaches
you think
are
that's
getting
an equal playing field?
Coaches are getting whacked quicker than they ever have before.
Whack me all you want. You can fire me from this podcast right now.
I understand.
I would
I'm just
walk
saying.
voluntarily right now if I had that kind of golden parachute there.
I'm just saying the result is coaches are getting fired quicker than they used to because of the money. That's all I'm saying. It's happening quicker.
I mean, do we have any texts in here about what coaches are making?
Yeah. There are texts in
about the buyout. Do we have any about what they're making per year?
Yeah, Brad, you have to acknowledge
what position coaches are making.
Yes. There have been complaints for years about how much coaches are making. Of course, there's been that. That's existed for other.
You just said there's 170 texts. Was there a single one in there about what an assistant coach is making?
That's not a scientific study.
Yes or no?
That's a one-off of people talking about West Virginia game.
Was there one about an assistant coach's salary?
Was there assistant coach's salary question? No. But I think, to your point, the money is an overriding topic more so than ever before because the money's become so big.
And it's NIL. We get NIL stuff every single time.
But we
don't get coaches' questions.
But go back to the point. This person was not complaining about the NIL. It wasn't complaining that players are getting paid. They were saying, I don't think, they were saying, is that having an effect on performance? Are there players that will say, I got mine, therefore the performance of the team does not matter as much? That was the question that individual was raising, which is a legitimate question to ask, which is not yet quite measurable. That's all.
And it's also the response would be, of course, there's some that will be affected. Of course, there will be some that won't be affected as well. To try and paint that with a broad brush or a blanket statement would be a fool's errand as well.
Well, I don't think that's what they were trying to do.
There are plenty of guys out there that can handle making the money and still perform.
Okay.
So just to say it's tearing apart locker, I mean, those are just broad general statements.
Did he say tearing apart locker
that
rooms?
Are going to happen in certain cases, but not all. We can't just say that's all.
Okay, I guess the question is, would you concede the point that the NIL money will have an impact on locker rooms and performance? That'll have some impact?
In certain cases, probably yes.
Okay.
But in certain cases, no. But I mean, both of those things are going to be true. A team's going to win a national title this year, probably, right? Will they award a national championship?
Just go ahead. Don't
and
ask
the
me a
national
rhetorical
championship
question.
team is going to have people making NIL money, correct?
Okay.
But not everybody's going to be making NIL money. It didn't tear apart that locker room. It didn't cause poor performance in those situations.
Well,
my point is it's going to be on both sides of that, just like in life. That happens in life. Some people are going to overperform relative to what they're getting paid. Is that true?
There's also a legitimate question
in real life,
as
are
to
there
whether
going
individuals
to be,
who are 19 and 20 years old mature enough to handle
some
the
won't,
money.
Some will, Hop.
Okay,
that's my point.
If some won't, there's an impact.
And is that a reason to not give that?
No, that's not what he's saying. It's not
I'm
what
not
I'm
talking
saying.
about what he's saying. I'm asking the question.
No, of course not. No,
are you saying that?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
No, I'm not
Neither
saying
of you
that.
guys seem to be on board with this.
No.
I
never said that they should not get the money. I just said I agreed with the statement that it will have some impact on these individuals and on performance, which I think is reasonable to say, and I think will be quantified at some point.
Then I'm just saying it's reasonable to think there will be no impact on certain players' performance.
Okay.
But
then-
why are
then-
both of
then-
those not true? Why
okay,
am I
then-
getting
then you're-
vilified
then you're-
for
then
bringing
you're-
that other
then
point
you're
up?
conceding it will have an impact on some.
I don't know how many more times I can concede to you. I don't know what you want me to say. You do this every time. I've said 4 times. There are going to be examples of guys that didn't perform because they got paid, they didn't perform.
Okay.
It's equally true, which why don't you concede something here? It's equally true. Others will make a lot of money from NIL and still perform at a peak level.
Okay. No,
how can both of those not be true?
I agree.
Why am I having to fight you on that?
I concede that point,
thank you.
which means NIL money is having an effect on performance.
Okay.
That's what that means. Because before there was no NIL, so it couldn't impact it.
Okay, here
now
we go.
it is.
Okay,
But
watch
some
me.
guys
Watch
weren't
me.
performing
Watch me.
before.
We're about 5 seconds away from shutting both your mics off.
Well, please do. I'll leave right now.
Okay,
Sure.
here we
Turn it
go.
off. I'm done.
Here we go. So listen. We're both in agreement that it does have an impact. And to Brad's point, yes, at times there are going to be guys that make money and they're going to continue to be very, very productive. And at times it will impact teams. And we're in agreement.
That's all I was saying.
Okay, I know you were. We got it. I put it into a nutshell. Okay.
Sit down.
Here we go.
Where are you going?
Text her.
Where are you going? Well, I thought we were having a good discussion. I didn't know you were wasting.
We have 2 more texts. Hi, 3 guys, Jared in Martinsburg. On Saturday before the game, I attended a beer festival at Nationals Park in D.C. with my girlfriend. It was a beautiful day. We had a great time. I wore a Flying WV shirt and got quite a few Let's Go Mountaineers sent my way. I love that there's always a West Virginia connection. Also, I'm attaching this picture. I took it at one of the brewery stands. Thought you guys would appreciate it. Let's Go Mountaineers. And that's a can of beer that says Hopportunity. Whole new deal there. Texter.
What's the latest on my beer?
Efforting.
Okay.
Mark in Morgantown, P1 of the Halleck Road. Kansas nukes the, Firecrackers, the basketball program. Freaking joke. Phillies lose a series. Eagles go to 8-0. West Virginia ladies soccer wins the Big 12. What an up and down time for the fan. But the best part of the weekend was Michael Carbonaro at the Met. A great show. Thanks for the recommendation.
Oh.
That's the magician, Michael Carbonaro. And I did advocate for attending that event. Why you what's the problem over there? What happened? What?
Well, I didn't go.
Well, you probably couldn't get tickets, right?
No, you got me tickets.
Oh.
I didn't. You got me tickets. I was all excited. I love Magic. And
I love Magic.
I
love Magic.
And I got home Friday. It's been a long week, and I was sitting on my deck.
Yeah.
It was I was drinking a glass of wine. It was like 6:30, and I texted Brad. I texted Tony, and I said, I need some help. I can't go.
Car. Well, so you listen.
I didn't go. I'm sorry. I appreciate you getting me tickets. I hope they were able to use the tickets.
Well, I texted the gentleman at the Met Theater, who's just a terrific guy, Joe. And he said,
mad at me?
No, he said, thank you very much. Not a problem. And that was it. Not a problem. And he said he appreciated us letting him know because there were probably about 1,000 people standing outside. The show was probably sold out. And there was probably people, he got those 2. He was probably able to sell them, right, Brad? Because they got released. Next time, listen, they're doing a wonderful job at the Met Theater. They're getting great shows in there. There'll be another time. What did you say? I love Magic.
I love Magic. I like Magic.
That's
I
good.
came in Saturday morning to the studio, and I said, Brad's in there. And I said, hey, Brad, guess what?
Well, guess what? You know what? Time to make this show disappear.
Yeah,
all right,
there's
we're
the
back
magic.
Thursday. So by the time Thursday comes, we'll do the Oklahoma preview, and we will have seen the Mountaineer basketball team play its first game.
Is it on TV? I know you do radio, of course, but is it on TV?
Yeah, it is. And also, Brett, so Thursday show, we get a little Pitt preview in there because Friday,
Potentially.
a couple numbers on Pitt. Busy time of the year. 3 guys before the game brought to us by The good folks at Burdette Camping Center, the only warranty forever RV dealer in all of West Virginia. Visit them at BurdetteCamping.com. Off the top of your head, what was that number? About $280.
25%. 25%. It's 24.8.
248 then. $248 off when you spend $1,000 right now on parts, sales, and service at Burdette Camping. And then this week, if they hit the over on kickoff, you'll get that amount. Oh, no, you'll get $500 if they go over.
Good deal.
That's a heck of a deal. Three Guys also brought to us by Comax Business Systems, your full-service Konica Minolta dealer. Go to Comax Business Systems at comaxwv.com. Election day tomorrow. Hoppy. Election day tomorrow. Big day for Hoppy. That's kind of like, Brad, that's his, like, what would you call it? Like his NCAA tournament?
Yes.
That's like yours.
That's my Final Four.
That's your Final Four. Metro News, will they have election coverage, Hoppy?
Tony, we will, starting at 7:06 tomorrow night, and live continuous coverage for 5 hours, which we can do because we do 9 hours on football with a bad team, so we can do 5 hours on the election.
Our producer, Jonathan Jingleheimer Smith. So, by the way, I got a note. I guess it's not Jingleheimer. Like, we have a P1 listener named Christian. He ripped me because he goes, you keep saying it's Jinglehead, it's not John. I don't know, what is it? What is the official? Jonathan.
Well, no, didn't he tell you? If he's going to rip us, didn't he have an answer? Or is it typical just threw a flamethrower and then didn't have an answer
never
behind
listened
it?
Jingleheimer Schmidt.
Is that what it is? Jingleheimer Schmidt. We be out. See y'all.